Taste the biscuit. Taste the goodness of the biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the goodness of the biscuit with the honey sauce. Get that honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings.
Arden, where did you get that song?
Oh, it was on X, of course. And the entire song is about Kentucky Fried Chicken. And the worst part of it, it's hard if the video is in like a retail store. And this one guy's playing a keyboard, and an older woman, maybe like late 50s, early 60s, is just singing about Kentucky Fried Chicken. And there's people walking by shopping.
It sounded like it was a little risque.
No, it's about the honey sauce. You don't dip your chicken wings in the honey sauce. Anyway, welcome
Arden,
to
I was
We
I was
Are
gonna say, don't hold on.
uh,
Don't forget to start the show. Go ahead.
okay. Welcome to We Are a Crotchety Old Man,
And a woman.
the podcast for you, with you, and sometimes even about you. How you doing, Abigail?
I'm doing just fine, Arden. I
So
am
this,
actually, as you know, in Australia,
yeah.
and I believe you have a couple facts for us.
Yes. So now these were interesting facts. So the first one, you're familiar with the Great Wall of China, are you not?
Yes.
Well, have you ever heard of Australia's dingo fence?
No, I have not.
The dingo fence is the longest fence in the world. It is over 5,600 kilometers or 3,500 miles of fence. One fence, and that was to keep the dingoes, which are kind of like dogs, away from people.
Ah,
That's
interesting.
Yeah, and it was part of the dingo ate your baby syndrome back way back when, where dingoes would come in and actually take infants away. Kind of scary. But
Okay, so that was a pretty useless fact.
it
What do
was.
you got next?
And this is another one. Did you know there are more camels in Australia than in Egypt?
I did not.
In fact, camels are imported to Saudi Arabia from Australia.
Really?
Useless information. That's why
That
we provide
is.
that for you.
It
So,
is, but it was still fascinating.
and then I thought that was really cool. So you're in Australia. Um,
Yes, I am.
it, that was one hell of a long flight. Tell us about your trip
Yeah.
along the whole 9 yards, because actually, I don't think maybe a couple of our fans were waiting. They want to know. I think
Okay.
Alfred and Mrs. Alfred wanted to know.
All right. Well, as I said, I went out on a limb last week and said I was going to quit smoking. So as of noon last Wednesday, Abigail smoked her last cigarette and headed out to the airport. I had a 6-hour flight to Los Angeles, and then I had to get on a flight to Australia, specifically Melbourne. And that flight, get this, Arden, was 16 hours.
That's a
And
lot of time.
I am now in Australia right now. It is Sunday at around 12:30 p.m.
Oh wow. Okay.
What time is it there, Arden?
It's
And what day?
8:37 p.m. Saturday.
Okay. So
SATUR.
to make it more impressive, I
Okay.
still have not had a cigarette.
You still, oh, that's impressive. Now, since I've never smoked, are you going through any withdrawal? Like, are you craving?
Actually, no. Okay, I do crave it a little, but I'm not going through withdrawal. I'm not shaking
You're
or
not like wanting
anything
to
like
eat
that.
everything or anything like that?
Yeah, and I lied to you before when I said I only smoked a half a pack.
Well, you gave me the pack. So I saw
I
your
know,
cigarettes. I,
I
I,
know, but
I was debating about
last
keeping
week,
them.
last week you asked me how much I smoked a day, and I lied. I
Oh,
said a half a pack, but it was
and
more like a pack.
Liar, liar, pants on fire. You fibber. Okay.
All right.
So we have a guest, right? Joining
We
you?
have two guests,
Two
and
guests.
they're
Okay.
featured for today's show.
And are
And
they located in Australia with you?
obviously, yes.
I don't know. I can't see you.
So I have my dear friend Sophia, as well as her awesome son Raphael. And Raphael is 7 years old. He is not going to be speaking, but he will be involved in the show a little later.
Okay, awesome.
So I've known Sophia since
2009.
2009,
Okay.
and she was in the US working for NCI at the NIH for
Okay.
cancer research.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so she's clearly very, very intelligent, and she has a PhD,
Okay.
but she lacks what I call street smart.
Oh,
And
one of
so
those people.
we're gonna talk about a couple stories for her that were very funny when she lived in the United States. And I want to make a note, and this may be political,
Uh-oh.
but she was here on a visa,
Okay.
and she actually went back to her home country like she was supposed to when her visa expired.
Oh, so she
I
didn't, she
commend
was
her.
not illegal. That's
I
outstanding.
commend
Actually,
her.
see now we would
did the right
actually,
thing.
people like myself would say that's the person we want in the country. We want more Sophias. People that do amazing work who come in and then go back, and then if they want a green card and become citizens, yeah, come on in. First in line. How about that?
That's right.
That's
And
what America wants.
yeah, and Sophia's
More
story
Sophias.
yeah, Sophia is her story is unique. She grew up in Korea and then immigrated to New Zealand. And it was when she lived in New Zealand that she came to the United States. But then she went back home and met her future husband in New Zealand, but she couldn't find a job. So
Okay.
she went to Australia because that has dual citizenship with New Zealand, correct?
It's got agreement with New Zealand, so
Okay.
you can come work. You don't need a special visa. You can come and work and live here.
Okay,
Oh,
so
okay.
she
So
got a job as a researcher, and then her soon-to-be husband came all the way to Australia, and they got married, and they had a child, and it's just a wonderful story.
so quick question. So Sophia, what is your citizenship? Is it Korea? It's
Yeah.
not the US. Is it New Zealand?
New Zealand.
It is New Zealand. Okay.
Yes.
Did you ever get a chance to go to where they filmed The Lord of the Rings? Where they still
Yes, I
have that
did. It
Hobbit
was
town?
amazing. Yes, it was beautiful. You should.
Oh, I'm so
Yeah,
jealous.
one day you should do that too.
I want to go there. I don't think I could last on a plane though for 16 hours.
Yeah, it's a long flight. I agree.
Okay, so yesterday if everyone doesn't know, I'm addicted to Amazon. But I had to get Sophia a special gift. And what was that gift, Sophia?
It was a Ziggler.
Ziggler or Jiggler?
Jiggler.
Yes, it
Oh,
was a Jiggler.
you got her a
Arden, do you remember
jiggler?
what that is?
Okay, if anyone does not know what the jiggler is, it's probably the greatest invention ever for the United States federal government workers, where you put it in the USB drive and it acts like your mouse is moving the cursor. So it just goes, so you can go watch TV, go to the bathroom, do whatever you want, and no one can see that you're not working because the mouse is always moving. So you put it on a spreadsheet and just have the mouse move around. Greatest invention ever. I don't know if Doge can outlaw those. That would be bad.
I don't know either. Okay, so as I said, Sophia and I met in 2009. And as I said, she's brilliant, but sometimes she lacks a little street smart. So I'm going to tell a few stories about Sophia.
Oh,
And if
okay.
she wants to give input, she will. But let's start with Benji. Everyone should know Benji by now, right, Arden?
Benji the dog. So Benji,
Yep.
in
And
fact, actually, he's sleeping about 10 feet away from me right now.
okay, so Benji is my oldest dog that lives with me in Sterling. And but Benji was originally So Young's puppy, not originally, the real mama Benji.
The real mama
So
of Benji.
yeah, and so she got him as the puppy. And why don't you describe what happened when you got him? Speak up.
I got him from my uncle for my first birthday in America.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
he called me 1 week before my birthday and he said, come, I got you a puppy. So I got so excited. I drove to New York. He lived in New York. So I drove to New York and I saw him. My uncle was waiting for me, sitting outside of his house, and I saw a little dog, and it was the ugliest dog I've ever seen. And
Ugly.
yes, he was so ugly, the hair everywhere. He was quite skinny as well. When I saw him, I got so disappointed. And I was like,
Oh,
that's not the kind of bulldog I want. And on the way back with him in my car to home, I kept looking at him thinking, oh, this is so ugly. I don't want this dog. Why did he get me this dog? So it was like that. So, but in the end, we all fell in love with him, as you all know.
Yes, Benji is very special.
he's my boy. I call him my boy Boo. I'm like, you're my boy, Blue. Come here, buddy. Oh,
Okay,
he
but
just looked at
here's
me.
a funny story about Benji and Sophia. Sophia and I were walking Benji in the neighborhood, and she said he won't run away. And I said, really? So she went down and unhooked his leash and said, he won't run away. Well, you know what, Arden? He did. He
Did,
bolted.
did he
And
run
I
like John
panicked.
Travolta?
Yeah, he does. We know
He
about
has a
John.
strut like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever.
Yes, he does. But when he was younger, he was a speed demon.
Nice.
So we were lucky to get him back.
Yes, I agree. And I'll never do that again. I was too naive.
She was naive.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, so now I've got a couple funny stories about
Okay.
Sophia. And after she came over here to the United States, somebody had given her a coupon to a restaurant. So she went to the fast food restaurant and stood in this really long line. And when she got up to the cashier, she was so proud and she handed the cashier the coupon. And the restaurant she was in was McDonald's. And the cashier looked at the coupon and then looked at her like she was crazy. And he said, this is not Subway.
Oh, did they accept it though?
No, they
Okay,
did not.
can I get a real fast coupon story? Daniel, who you've met, we were in Montreal, so in Canada, and he had a coupon for a McFlurry, and it's the
Mhm.
middle of winter in Montreal, Canada, and we walked 2 miles in the freezing cold just so he could go to McDonald's with his coupon to get a McFlurry ice cream. And they said, sir, this is for the United States, not for Canada. But
Oh,
they
ouch.
accepted. You do not know how angry a bunch of guys were, freezing, walking 2 miles so he could get it. And then he was like, well, you guys could get something. Anyway, we're mad at Daniel to
So,
this day for that.
all right, I just only have two more, and this
Okay.
one's probably my favorite. But Sophia's entire family came from New Zealand to visit, including her brother, her mother, and her father. And we were in Virginia, and she wanted to take them to Florida for a mini vacation. So I was supposed to give her a ride to the airport. And I was all nervous because we were running late, and I kept telling her we had to go. And she tends to live life on the edge. So we finally get in the car. I drop her off at Dulles Airport. which is only about back then 10 minutes from my house. So I'm on my way home and the phone rings and it's Sophia. And you know what she said, Arden?
What?
She said, we're at the wrong airport. And I said, what? And she said, no, I know. We were supposed to go to the one in Washington, D.C., which is now Ronald Reagan Airport.
Mhm.
And I was like, you got to be kidding me. So I turned around, I raced to the airport, and I get them on my car, and we just book it. It was 30 minutes away, but I think I got there in 15 minutes.
Wow.
I
Wow.
was so determined. And
Wow.
then once they got in the airport, what happened? So yeah, I mean, Sophia, what happened?
There were long line of people,
Mhm.
and to go through the immigration and things like that, it was going to, well, we didn't have enough time, so we had to beg people, can you let us go first? And everybody in the line looked at us, yes, you can. So
Oh,
we
that's nice.
were, yeah, allowed to cut through the line, and we made it. We made it,
Yeah, but
yes.
I mean, again, that's an example story of how my dear friend who has a PhD, she forgot what airport she was supposed to go to. But anyway, I
As you said,
digress. So the
book
final
smart.
story, right, she's very book smart.
Mm.
So she was flying back to Australia just a few months ago. And where were you flying from?
New Zealand.
So she was coming back from New Zealand. And I don't know if everyone knows, but Australia has very strict import rules.
Right.
So she gave him the backpack to inspect, and the inspector said to her, do you have anything in this bag that you're not allowed to have? And she said, no, right?
Mm-hmm.
What did you say?
I said nothing. And they asked me, did you pack your bag yourself? And yes, I did. And they kept asking me, do you have something you shouldn't have in here that you should declare? And I kept thinking, I really thought hard. And I said no. And they said, anything round? Obviously the person was trying to rescue me, save me. He was giving me hints, clues, and I nothing round. I don't have anything round. And finally he said, okay. And he put his hand in my bag, pulled it out. It was a rotten apple.
Oh, okay.
And what did they do to you? So what did they do to you?
He said, you have an apple in your bag. You're not supposed to bring fresh fruit to this country. So you're gonna get a fine. And I asked, how much is the fine? It's $400.
Wow, $400
You should have
because
said,
she
sir,
forgot about an apple.
you should have said, sir, it's not fresh. It's rotten.
It's
So I
not,
did not break the law.
cooked. If it was cooked, it would have been fine, but it wasn't cooked.
Well,
Wow.
well, after the whole toad problem, Australia is very, very hard on anyone importing anything because toads are an invasive species and they just are all over the place there. Or is that
Yeah,
another
so,
useless fact number 3?
I think so. So Sophia was a good sport about all that. So let's go into the next topic, Arden. Isn't that going to be you asking me 3 questions?
Sure. Let's go for that. Hold on. So I got.
And I will get if I need help from Sophia, she will help me.
Okay. So first, let me get a sip of my basement coffee, the finest
Okay.
coffee you could have in a basement. Anyway, so question number 1. What is your biggest pet peeve?
All right. Can I say anything about it being you?
Oh, shit. Yeah. Sorry.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
just
My
me,
biggest pet
just me
peeve.
totally.
Okay, no. My biggest pet peeve is this younger generation. I don't know if it's Gen Z or if it's millennials. It doesn't matter. But they like to say the term, you're fine. Okay. So I am 53 years old and I don't like to say it, but I'm a senior person, the top senior person at my job. And if I say to them, I'm leaving to go to an appointment or I'm going home, they look at me and they say, you're fine. And what I want to say is, I know I'm fine. I don't need your acceptance that I'm doing fine. So, Arden, that's my biggest pet peeve.
I like that. I don't understand that either. Like, you're fine. I'll smack you. Okay. Next one. Here we go. Do you have a hidden talent?
Oh,
Like, can you curl
I
your
do
tongue?
not.
Can you play the spoons? Can you put a spoon on your nose?
I don't think I have a special talent.
Everyone
Uh,
has something special.
No, I don't. But you know what? Sophia does. She's awesome at the piano.
Well, that's not a special talent. That's a real talent.
Okay,
Like,
that is
yeah,
a real talent.
yeah, building the alphabet would be a
Okay, I
special
know
talent.
what my talent is.
Okay.
Watching financials and making sure financial stuff is straight. That's my talent.
Our audience has to
Very,
understand, like, you and a calculator. like most people are looking at their cell phone. You're looking at a calculator. You have multiple calculators in different parts of the house. You're the only
yes,
person I know who ever had a calculator next to the bed. Like,
yes,
good night,
I do.
calculator. Okay,
Can I
last.
jump in? She brought one here all the way from America to Australia.
I did. I
Because,
did bring one.
Yeah, I thought it was really funny.
because in Australia they don't have the number 5 or something. Like you need,
John, obviously.
and you couldn't use the one on your phone.
Ha ha ha.
All right, last
I
one.
know, but that's harder than a real calculator.
Okay, last one. Have you ever broken the law? Breaking the law. Breaking the law. Breaking the law.
Yes.
What?
The law that I've broken is not uncommon for people. I have been caught speeding, but I will admit one time it was over 100 miles an hour,
Wow.
and it wasn't my finest moment.
Nice. Were you screaming and drinking and yelling at people and?
No, I wasn't drinking. I've never done that, Arden, and I don't appreciate that you just said that.
You could have lowered the window and just start yelling. Hey, everyone! Woo! Let's go, Redskins! All right. Well, those were my 3 questions for you. So now,
All right.
so now what do we have? We have the magical Trump orb. So
Okay.
so are you two going to ask 2 questions, and I'm going to ask 1 question, and then it'll
Okay.
lead to our next topic.
All right. I'll go first.
All right.
Okay. Will Sophia ever miss a flight?
I have absolutely no doubt.
Oh, she will. Absolutely will. That's a good one. That's a good one.
Okay.
All right, what's
You
your
want me
next?
to ask the second question?
Yes.
Okay. So Raphael, Sophia's son, he is 7 years old
Okay.
and he does a lot of sports. So my question to the Trump orb, is Raphael really good at Taekwondo?
Oh, let's find out.
I would say maybe.
Oh, maybe. Okay.
Oh.
He's just starting, right?
That's because he's awesome. Come
Okay.
on.
And he's just really starting out. So
Yeah,
you know,
but I didn't like Trump's answer, but that's okay.
that's okay. He's got to wow him later. Well, mine is actually dedicated to my brother because it is Super Bowl season. So I will ask the Trump orb, will the New York Jets ever win a Super Bowl?
I think so.
Oh, not very confident. Thank you, Trumpy Orb. Wow, so that was pretty wow, no definites there. So it is Super Bowl season. Last week it was Groundhog's Day, and by the way, the groundhog did see his shadow. 6 more weeks of winter, and it feels like that today, year. But I'm doing nothing for the Super Bowl, and I don't really give a gosh diddly darn. So, Abigail, are you doing anything for the Super Bowl at all in Australia?
Well, I think everybody back home, it's basically Super Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. Well, Abigail's Super Bowl is going to be on Monday at
Mm,
around noon.
wow.
So
Okay.
Sophia is going to take, because this is a little strange fact about Sophia. She doesn't have a TV.
Okay.
You believe that?
Um, it's
But
kind
anyway,
it's kind of hard not to have a TV, I guess, but unless you're on the computer all day.
well, anyway, so she's going to be kind enough to take me to a local bar so I can watch the game. So, but I'm going to be watching it on Monday at noontime, around noon.
Nice.
And you will be, those of you back in America will be watching it on Sunday night.
Oh wow. So that's actually, you know what? Monday at noon is a great time. You could have a beer, have yourself a chicken sandwich at the pub,
Mhm.
and just have a good old time. And it's probably going to be a little crowded, I think, because it is like the world's biggest sporting event. I'm sorry, world's biggest American sporting event, I should say. You know,
Exactly.
it's not the World Cup, you know, so it's a
No.
little bit different, but it is huge in Australia as well. So that was interesting. So the also, I know you've been away for a while. Have you seen what's going on in the world of politics?
Actually, no, because I don't have a TV.
Well, I thought maybe you'd be looking on your phone. So just a couple things. So you heard about like US aid being can moved and canceled and being merged with the State Department.
Yes, I did hear about that.
So it was amazing when they were actually taking the letters off the building. But one of the biggest things that came out, Chelsea Clinton, not Hillary, not Bill, somehow was given $84 million from the Haiti Relief group from USAID. $84
Wow.
million. 3 million went to her wedding. They don't,
Wow.
and 10 million went to her house. Do you think there was a little corruption going on in the country?
Arden,
84.
yeah, that just doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, that
You
came out
know,
a couple days ago. And today, Donald Trump is getting rid of everyone's clearances. Now, it's always been tradition that the former president still holds a clearance and still gets briefings. Because sometimes, you know, they could relate. So, like Barack Obama could, you know, tell Trump things about what's going on. Well, Trump said no. He's getting rid of Joe Biden's clearance. So Joe Biden will have zero access, and all of his aides are losing access.
wow, that's
Yeah,
huge.
they are. And now the new one is now they're going after the Department of Education. And if you get a chance to watch the videos of the woman from it is Maxine Waters, her yelling
Oh,
at the poor security guard. He's not even a guard. He's just a guy standing there. They're demanding entrance into the Department of Education building, and he's like, "Do you have an appointment?" And they're like, "We don't need an appointment. We are paid by the American people. This is the American People's Department of Education." And she's like, "Look at us. We want to know the man who stood in front of," and the guy's like, "I'm just kind of doing my job here, man." You know, it was great. Like, and it's what's scary though is, you know, this is the group that talked about, you know, how Trump on January 6th was leading to violence and everything else. And it was actually very scary because like they are talking about, you know, fighting in the streets, you know, not, you know, in Congress, but actually saying we will get them in the streets, we will take it to the streets. And multiple people are saying this, and like this is the same people who literally are still going after Trump, and
yes.
yet they're losing their little minds. I mean,
Hmm.
they've totally lost it. It's scary, but those were just a few of the things that happened in the world. But I see we're actually coming up on our time, which is pretty amazing. So hopefully you guys are having fun. Um,
We are.
do you guys have any big plans for the rest of the weeks or doing anything else? I guess not.
But we're gonna go to the beach, and what else are we gonna do?
We're gonna stay at a really nice hotel.
Yes.
Oh,
And
oh,
it has a rooftop pool that's
nice.
got an infinity edge on it, so it's gonna look like you can just swim over the end of the building.
Okay, I think I would rather be in an infinity pool than in the oceans of Australia. Another useless fact I saw, you are not allowed to go into the beach, into the water till 1902
Really?
because of all the sharks and all the weird ass creatures that live out there. And there are some crazy creatures out near Australia, you know. So anyway, useless information. And there's the one guy who drops the dead cows in the ocean because it costs more to get rid of cows. So when the cow dies on his property, they take him out to the ocean, drop it in, and they're feeding the sharks, and the shark population is growing out there.
That is
Useless,
disgusting.
but it actually they can't afford to cremate the cows. Like it's actually non-environmental. It's actually better for the environment for them to do this. Anyway, thank you everyone. Feel free to follow us on X at Crotchety Old Man. That's at Crotchety Old Man on Twitter /X, or we are crotchetyoldman@gmail.com, which is it's long. It's a lot easier. Just go to X. And then we can possibly go and get some. Oh, yeah. Wait. We're sung again. Oh, yeah. Let's just talk about that biscuit. Taste the honey sauce. Taste the. Good night, everyone. The honey sauce.
Good night, everyone.
That honey sauce on me. I don't like the way it tastes with my chicken wings. Taste the biscuit.
All right. Later.